helps if I unmute the mic. Let's do that again. Hello and welcome. It's Sunday morning. I need more coffee. I need help with this, really. And Julius is face palming already. It's Sunday morning. It's time for Art of Rock. And today we've got a really cool session on where we're going to talk about how to make your video on a shoestring budget. We're joined by the amazing people from all over the world with rock, and also the crazy cats from eMpTyVeeTV, because you need to get your shit on eMpTyVeeTV. But before we start, I'd like to make some public announcements. Firstly, I want you to join us every Sunday, this time, this channel, so that we can talk about amazing stuff and learn about rock and roll and go boom. All of this madness that you're watching now is made possible by the amazing people on Angelspit's Patreon. Many of them are here. These people put up with me. Boom. They're incredible, incredible humans. Big news is tomorrow something amazing drops, and that's Planet Damage's new 8-track remix album, and it's going to be dope. It's in the description. Go there now. Comments. Boom. On other news, I just did a remix for Deadlight Holiday, and if you haven't heard of them, you need to, because they're awesome. There, go get them. Boom. Angelspit's Bandcamp is there. If you want to drill pins into your brain, that's where you get the stuff to drill pins into your brain. Therapy. And also, next Sunday is the 15-year anniversary of the album Crunk House that Angelspit did 15 years ago. Coincidental. And I'm doing a gig for Temple on Sunday to celebrate. There's a link to Temple. Go watch Temple, because it's amazing, and there's going to be a whole bunch of amazing bands. Did I put your thing in there, didn't I? Yeah, I think I did. Yeah. No, yeah, I did. All right. And the last and most important brain-numbing thing is, if you want 24-hour non-stop music from the pit, from hell, tune into eMpTyVeeTV, and they're on Twitch. There's the link in the description. Now let's talk about this some more, because if you don't have your music on there right now, you need a video. So I am surrounded by these amazing rock stars, and we're going to talk about how to make a goddamn video on a shoestring budget. I need more vodka. Someone help me, please. Let's start. Hey everybody, wave. Oh, that's great. Thank you so much. That was really good. You make me feel good about myself. I'm going to throw it open. I'm going to jump straight into this. I want to ask you about narrative, and just throw your hand up or jump right into it. The first point I want to ask you about in the videos that you have created is the narrative. How did you come up with the narrative? Go. Gabriel from, Eva X, I see your hand. Let me hear your voice.
You can hear my voice. Yeah. So the most narratively focused video I've done was for my song Subsume. And for that one, it basically came out as the extension. That was an easy one, and this is kind of biffing it. It came out as an extension of the mood of the song. The song's about a very particular phenomenon and point in time. So I was like, well, if I wanted to portray being like suburbanly depressed, how would I do it? And it kind of just came through there.
Tell me more. That's amazing. Unless somebody else wants to share. I see Brian's hand.
Oh, sorry, I got fancy and tried to unmute myself without standing up there. It took me a second. I've sort of been on both sides of this, because we shot the video for Ultra Sweaty, and I thought it was just going to be like a dance video. I didn't really talk, but this is with Tank 9, who's doing like those I bust out dance videos like in a drainage ditch videos that were like hot at the time. So I emailed him, and we went out there, and I thought it was going to be just like a dance video, because he knows what he's doing, and I'm just a gangly mess, and I thought that'd be funny. And he goes, no, we have to have a narrative, like, as we're filming it. I'm like, oh, okay, there's a robot. And so we came up with it on the fly, and it was fine, but it was really haphazard, and it made it take maybe twice as long as it should have if we'd thought it out beforehand. And then I just did a video available now on eMpTyVeeTV for a side project called Crudmouth, called My Head Hurts, and that was all storyboarded out, and we knocked that out with an iPhone and an afternoon. So just at least putting a non-zero amount of effort towards it before you turn on the camera, in my case, cut shoot time in half.
Thank you. And that brings us into a really interesting question of the importance of storyboarding, etc. At this time, I throw to Eva. I see your hand. I'm going to throw it to Adam first, and then I'm throwing it to Eva.
So first of all, I'm super impressed that you cut that video in an afternoon. That is very impressive organization, because that is a very detailed, all the stop motion in that is stunning. In my case, I'm gonna support what Eva was saying there. Lyric driven has been a part of my thing. In my case, I have not organized myself that well in terms of storyboarding, because what I'm doing is I'm creating from stock video during the pandemic here. I have storyboards for videos that I would like to do. So maybe as things get back to normal, we can accomplish some of that. But I have been using stock footage, free stock and found stock from subscription sites. And so to create the narratives in my videos, I was trying to find pieces that fit tone and mood, and then create essentially a collage that would carry through the videos, and the lyrics are what is driving that emotionally. That visual tone is being driven by the lyrics and the musical tone. And I will step back.
Thank you. Damage, I'm going to throw it to you in a moment. Eva, shoot.
Yeah, I'm really glad Brian mentioned the point about storyboarding and planning, because we've shot another music video for Eva X that's not done yet, so I can't talk about it too much. But for that one, we actually used the free version of Previs Pro to set everything up. And yeah, working with Eric Gustus in cinematography, it absolutely rings true that the videos where we don't really have a shoot plan going in, or we're not committed to the shoot plan, are the ones that take everyone just longer effort, time, and frustration. So I'm a huge fan of having at least like a list of shots and a storyboard.
I'm gonna put my hand up. Oh, Michelin beat me to it. After DJ I-99, I want to go in. Damage, I want to hear your thoughts.
Thank you. So Eva, I definitely have to react to what you said, because there is an awful amount of frustration whenever there's no storyboarding, and that happened. In terms of narrative, what I wanted to say is, with me, it always happened that I'm bringing in a lot of different elements, like, taking in the location, for example, taking in the different kinds of elements that you can put in terms of, all the props and whatnot, and what kind of people are involved. And then again, interestingly enough, sort of a narrative always comes up, like how can you combine these elements in such a way that there's something emerging? And with Angst, that happened, for example. And there were some videos like Vex, for example, when we just wanted to create an image video, so to say. But then again, whenever it comes to all the people who are looking at it, they start to have their own ideas about what they've actually seen, and I believe that is one crucial thing that I like to monopolize on.
Awesome. Eric, I think you're next. I'm actually going to go after you, Mike, because I want to hear what you have to say. Eric, give me spank my nun.
I will, and I can't wait to hear what Mike and you have to say too. So. I was going to add to what Adam was saying, and also to what Damage and Eva was saying too, is that even if you do the stock video, which has been very popular over this last year, and there's a ton of free resources out there for stock videos, you don't have to go steal something without permission and unlicensed. But there's a narrative that you can put together too. And even I did the video for Frontline Assembly's Unknown, and we did a full narrative for that. So there's a very clear narrative going through the whole thing about leaving this planet to go to another planet because we destroyed it. And what do you know? We destroyed the next planet too, as soon as we get there, you know, but that was all through stock video and some After Effects that kind of put some things together. But then also, yeah, there are those ones like what Damage was saying where it's really kind of a mood or a feeling narrative. It's not a fully written out one like we did for our Alice in Wonderland one. It was like 12 minutes long. It was very detailed, written out, all the shots, multiple people involved. But sometimes it's just that feeling that you're going for, and you're just kind of like building a feeling through the whole thing, and people can interpret it their own way.
Thank you, Eric. DJ TI99.
Yes. Yeah, I was going to add a little bit to that too. One of the things, because I was thinking about what Adam was saying about stock footage, and one of the things I've done too is gone through and just collected tons of performance footage, and it was tough over the last year, but I've done it over the years with some of the bands I've worked with, and just having your own B-roll from going to live shows and getting as much as you can, even if you end up using it years later. It's really handy to have, you know, and as far as storyboarding and things like that, it really depends on the band. Sometimes I've gone in without it. Sometimes I've set up a whole production book where I've gone through and scripted out all the lyrics, all the ideas, and then gone through and storyboard the entire thing. So, you know, it really depends on how much time everybody has too, pre-production.
That's awesome. If you could also turn down your mic, it's kind of loud. It's all good.
Is that better?
Yeah, turn it up a bit.
Oh, okay. Is that good?
Bit more.
That good?
That's great.
Okay.
Mike, the video punk, hit me with your rhythm stick.
So I'm going to preface this by saying I'm locked out of my apartment. So like I'm in a big hallway. So I don't know if y'all can actually hear me or not. Like I'm just on my phone, so I'm sorry. I think that it's very easy. So I guess my gut reaction is music videos don't need narrative, which makes me unpopular, I'm sure. I think all music videos should have some sort of thesis statement and some sort of thematic elements that tie the whole thing together. But I think sort of we might want to define what we mean specifically about narrative. Because when I think narrative, I think things like feature films where there's a story, there's 3 acts, plot elements, character development. And it can be difficult to develop characters in that way in 3.5 minutes while angry robot noises are screaming at the viewer. So I've done my best to stay away from the sort of like short film music video in the videos that I've done, but they really tried to focus on these thematic elements and sort of the central idea and build sort of our pre-production, always building pre-production around those elements. So I think you have the opportunity to tell a story, but I think if it's like super narrative, I think that can sort of be a little bit more difficult to do effectively.
Thank you, Mike. I'm just going to jump in there if I can. I like making short films. I'm awful at it, but I like doing it. I like pretending that I'm a 3-minute David Lynch. I'll be unpopular for that one, let me tell you. When I storyboard something out, a video or a photo shoot, Adam before mentioned in the comments to get photos, a video of you performing from your friends' cell phones, and that's a great idea. When I do a photo shoot, or I will try and set up the most ridiculous photo shoot I possibly can, and I will also shoot the video there. When I do a photo shoot or a video shoot, I have a database, and the database goes into the props, it goes into what's needed, the personnel, absolutely every single thing that I require. But the core thing is for me, is a really strong, simple idea. And that idea, I love horror, I love creepy, I like stuff that's got a twist. So I like I like stuff that for me is really important. And that's just me, but I'll echo what everybody said, and especially Brian, as far as the importance of having a shooting script. Because if you don't, it will take you a week to shoot something that you could shoot in a night. If you know exactly and precisely, and I've gone into shoots where people says, there's no way you're going to shoot this. And it's like, trust me, man, we're going to get this done because we know exactly what we're doing, exactly when it starts and when it ends. It's scripted. Thank you. Aaron from Hack and Slash. What you got, Greg?
Hey, you guys hear me okay? All right. Doing a lot of cinematography and stuff in the background. I'll ditto what a lot of people said, but I think if you really get down to it, like, it's easy to get lost in your love for the video, and it's very easy to get sidetracked. So it's like, it's okay to want to shoot from the hip, but what I think is key is you got to write a list down, and you got to do some of the remedial bullshit that you don't want to do, to where you can line it up to where you say, what is my list of props? Who's my assistant director? Who's going to keep time? Who's going to watch my storyboard, supervise my script? I mean, like, it's great to have a coalition of the willing, but if you're pulling a bunch of people from the outside and they don't know where that's going, I've just found that creatively you could really, really start, setting up tripwires because you didn't narrow down, well, who's going to get the fog machine and who's going to bring the costumes and who's going to set up the lights and it's a lot of that tedious stuff that you have to knock down. But once you anchor it and once you center it and you got all those people, you could have your game plan, but people, in my experience, are more willing to help deviate from that just a little bit creatively, but give you the most awesome product that you possibly can, because you already did the organization and groundwork and the legwork to make sure that your blueprint's there. But if it's just high chaos and there's no organization, you might start losing crew like left and right. You get a lot of people that are like, I have no idea what the hell they're doing, but like, it's 2 a.m. and I'm gone.
Yeah, we haven't shot anything yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can, thank you, Aaron. Did you want to say anything else, or did I just cut you off?
No. I think you're good. I feel like I'm rambling, so I'm going to stop myself.
I actually, Adam, I see your hand. I actually want to throw this to Jamie. Jamie, I saw your hand briefly. I'd love to hear what you and your mannequins have to say.
There's no mannequins here today, unfortunately. It was just a point on what you were saying with regards to the difference between shooting without your scene list and your shot list and compared to doing it with. So every video that we have done about 95% in one day. So if we take an example of iDetach, that was done in one day. And it was admittedly a 14-hour day, but that's literally because for 3 weeks, I was making sure that every single scene, at every single shot, which cam was being used, which frame per second was being used, which lighting was being used, who was required for it. And I'll tell you right now, I fucking hate that shit. I mean, as musicians, we all hate that. Nobody enjoys that. But unless you make sure that everything is like micro detail, you're going to struggle if it's something ambitious. And I think everything that you do video-wise is ambitious. No matter how basic it is, it's still ambitious. But the more ambitious it gets, the more organization it demands. And unfortunately, it's just one of those things you've got to kind of chew on, really. But it was just basically in the point that you were suggesting about, storyboarding, possibly, but definitely shot lists.
Awesome. I want to just, I see some hands up. Eva, I saw your hand. I just want to throw another question into the mix before I jump back to Adam. And that is about, how do you storyboard? And how do you create that script? So I want to, let's talk about the practicalities here. Let's get into the darkness and explore that with Adam.
Okay, well, I've heard a few very important things that my comment is more about summarizing here, in that Aaron said a few minutes ago, he used the word product, and I think that's a really important thing to remember, that what you're trying to do is create a successful product, right? To make it a successful product, the next thing that I'm hearing a lot about is organization. Having it in your mind what you want to accomplish, and a workflow as to how to accomplish that. That seems to be a very common theme going through here. One of the things I wanted to touch back on was what Mike the Liar said about more indirect narratives, and I think that's a really important point. Like, your narrative does not have to be a story. It does not have to be a short movie. But what Mike was driving at there is that it does have to carry you visually and emotionally from point A to point B. I think it's an important thing to remember that can be done very abstractly, and that there's a lot of different ways to do it. So we have been talking an awful lot. I'm sorry, the train's going by. We've been talking an awful lot about shots, but there are a lot of other ways to create music videos. Animation, stock videos, something that we've mentioned, lyric videos. There's a lot of different ways to create that narrative, and I don't want to detract too much from the technical conversation about shooting, but I'd really love to hear some people's thoughts on producing videos without cameras, for one part of it, and more about how would you say, like what Mike was saying and what Aaron was saying about that shooting from the hip kind of idea, in terms of what are some of the outside ideas or the things that you weren't planning that ended up being super interesting features in your videos, or things that you didn't expect that work, if that makes sense.
Awesome. Can I just, Mikhail, I see your hand. Eva, I saw your hand as well. I'm going to throw it to Mikhail. Am I saying your name right, Mikhail? DJTI99? Oh, you're muted.
Michael. Yes.
Thanks, baby. All right, Michael, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've done some non-narrative videos. For one of my side projects, I do an ambient project called Mr. Heartbreak, and I set the camera opposite the sun for 2 hours for a sunset, and for one of my longer jam tracks that I did. Yeah, narrative's nice, but there's also a lot of abstract things you can do. There's performance videos. There's a lot of experimental, avant-garde, ideas that you can use as well that may not necessarily. I guess it's fall into narrative. I guess you've got like Andalusian Dog from from Dali, which I guess has some sort of narrative, but that kind of work as well. And as far as organization, again, it really depends on the project. So
awesome.
Can I just be interrupty jerk for a second and say that
Jesus fucking Christ.
Well, yeah. But I think it's interesting to look at anti-narrative as being a narrative. Like, how weird can you make it as a narrative, right?
I love that point. We're going to pick up on that. I'm going to throw it to Eva, then Mike, Liar, jump on in. Eva, go. You're muted.
Got it. Yeah, I have to admit, some of my favorite videos that we've done for E.G. Sin are videos that's just a performance and a couple of vignettes. We did one recently for a band called Werewolves, where part of the appeal of it was we actually shot the song and everything in halftime and sped the footage up in post. And the whole video had this crazy jerky effect. It was just a very simple performance and a couple scenes of us running around with Bristol board. and it created a really cool effect. So yeah, I'm definitely interested. I like doing stuff that's also got more of a performance than a mood than a really intricate story. You can do a lot with the performance and like a vignette, or I guess the film equivalent of a short story is a short film.
Cool. Mike, what you got?
I'm going to step back to the technical real quick. We were talking about how important pre-production is. So I work in post-production primarily, and everyone always hears fix it in post, which is never a good idea. Yeah. So something that I've seen like stickers and t-shirts for, like I've screamed it at production managers, is fix it in pre. So typically when you're in post-production on something, or even in production on something, there's time limits. Like you have to do this music video, it has to be out to meet the press deadline, things like that, or you're actually on set, you only have your location for so many hours. But pre-production really doesn't cost you anything. You can sit there and spend as much time as you need to get everything organized before you involve other people. So if you can fix it in pre, then you will save yourself a lot of time, a lot of money, and a lot of heartbreak.
Thank you, man. Graham.
Hey, I would probably say a huge part to tailor to what a lot of people are talking about. Don't underestimate what you can do with practical effects versus shit that you can do on a computer that's all bells and whistles stuff. In other words, if you're trying to capture that feeling and you're trying to make people feel uneasy, start shooting at a Dutch angle, start shooting upside down, do things that are really weird and oddball, but it's those things in the moment that can make it work. We spent the better part of like 10 minutes. We were setting up all this stuff for an episode. But all of a sudden I was like, yeah, I just want to go for horror. I want a Dutch angle. I think it'll be really cool because it's a long hallway and he's wheeling a body on a cart. And then the cameraman's like, I'll do you one better. I got a camera rig that can do a full barrel roll. So I was like, holy shit. So again, practical versus trying to spin it on a program. So he's got this sweeping 360 barrel roll shot as this cart goes down the hallway. And it is like badass. It's one of my favorite shots I've ever done, point blank period, to this day. But there's a lot of stuff that you could probably do, and you could do it on the cheap. I mean, you can get colored cells to put in front of the camera to throw the lighting off. You can maybe work with glass in front of the lens. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think, instead of just trying to go overkill in post, you can do it right there in the moment, make it really badass. And you don't need top tech to do it. Hell, you can get a wheelchair from a Goodwill and have somebody sitting in there with your camera, and that is your rolling shots, your trucking shot, your tracking shot. That's using all those tools, or get a longboard, put somebody on a longboard and roll them down the street to help shoot your chase scene or part of your video. It's just, I'm a huge fan of practical. I don't like monkeying around with a lot of extra effects if I don't have to. No.
Awesome. This actually brings us really nicely into the concept of, as far as the tech tools and what you're using, like software, editing software. Let's get technical here. What do you use? Do you use stock footage? Are there free tools or resources that you use? Are there camera options, things that you do? Are there lighting fun things you do? Do you use public domain? All the hands are lighting up right now. I'm going to throw it to Michael.
Sorry, I lost my mouse there. It's really interesting. I've done things with a cell phone. I have a Moondog like anamorphic lens adapter for my cell phone, and it cost me $150. And it gives it a full cinematic look. You've got inexpensive tools for your phone like Filmic Pro. If you have an iPhone 12, now you can do 10-bit color, so you can have, high dynamic range. DaVinci Resolve, they have a free version of it. I have a Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K, so I got a license for the full version. But I mean, for the most part, you can get away 90% of what you need is in the free version, and there's just all kinds of stuff. I mean, people have shot feature-length films with a cell phone. I know that Soderbergh did. There was that film Tangerine. So there's a lot you can do with those and really make it really cinematic, especially with especially when you're shooting at 24 frames per second and you maybe get a special lens. I mean, even cheap camcorders, you can usually shoot 24 frames per second, and you can get little screw-on lenses. Like the one I'm using now for the video here is just a little cheap Canon $200 camcorder with a screw-on wide-angle adapter. So yeah, there's a lot you can do. And I want to say one other thing. I don't want to keep going on, but one of the things that's really helped me out is joining my local makerspace, because I've been able to do things like make 3D print gear rings. And now I've got access to a mill, so I can make all kinds of things. I can make myself a Dana dolly for just the raw materials. So, I mean, not everybody's going to have access to all of that, but at least your local library probably has access to a 3D printer and things like that. And a lot of those tools you can make yourself and really save a lot of cash.
I love your face. Mike, I love your face too. I love your face, Mike. Give me your wisdom, oh my prince.
So, yeah, like Michael said a lot of the stuff that I was going to say. But regardless of what camera you're shooting with and what software you're using, I think my biggest tip is just get closer. I've seen like a lot of like iPhone like shot stuff where it's shot in like medium shots and people are doing stuff and like that looks really flat. So when people talk about things like shooting cinematically, like consider shot sizes that aren't medium shots or wide shots. If you're in a close-up, get closer. Like always push against this notion of like, oh, I'm close enough. No, just get a little bit closer and you'll be happier. But yeah, there's tons of free tools. There's tons of tutorials. Like video people love talking about video shit. So if you have an idea for a thing, look on YouTube and see if you can find someone who's done it, who explained it, both in software and hardware. And yeah, I'd also like to pair it this notion of like anything you can do practically will look better than After Effects. Always, 110%.
Thank you, Mike. Adam, your hat.
Oh, hi. So yeah, real quick on tools and things that are available. So since we are talking about video on a shoestring budget, let's talk cheap. Like, your MacBooks and Mac Airs and all that come with iMovie software, and iMovie software is actually pretty powerful. Like, you can green screen on it. It gives you a few editing tracks. You can cut your audio and shit in there, for your voiceover work and all that kind of. It's got titling and all that. It's very, very easy to use. It doesn't take a lot to get going with it. You can start cutting as soon as you open the program, and the more that you get used to it, the faster you'll get. I know that I don't know very much about what's available for Windows stuff. I haven't really used Windows. Okay, so Ava's going to have some good ideas for that. Fantastic. Talking about cameras and stuff, obviously iPhones, your phones these days have amazing cameras. The little extra tools are fantastic. I found these groovy little guys. It's a Polaroid cube, and it is 1-inch cube. I found these groovy little guys on Amazon, and I happened to catch them on sale and got them for $20 a piece. They usually run between 50 and 100 depending on whatever. They have magnets on them, so like you can stick them on the mic stand, you can stick them on the car. I haven't had a chance to use them yet because I got them during the pandemic, and so I haven't in the middle of winter in New England, so I haven't had a chance to mess with these things yet, but I am freaking dying to. And like I said, I got them for $20 freaking a piece. And there's a bunch of accessory kits. So I have an accessory that I could like stamp this. I can stick this onto the bottom of a glass and drink out of the glass and shoot down my throat if I wanted to. It's really cool. Other tools, there's a lot of cool tools. The Zoom Q2N is the camera that I've been using for my video shows. The new version of it is 4K, and it is so sharp that I'm using half the amount of lights that I was using with the old version. And lighting. Let's talk about cheap lighting real quick, man, because you can do green screen with a couple of lamps from what you have at home and a little bit of a little fabric to use as a diffuser or that kind of stuff. Yeah, there you go. Stick a sock on it, you know, that kind of stuff. You know, the same kind of tricks that we use in the studio to make music on the cheap. A lot of those same tricks work in video. And one thing before I pass it on, because I am just trying to open up a lot of topics here. One more thing before I pass it on. Anybody who is making music, if you're used to working in audio editing software and workstations, going to the timelines in video is almost natural. It's literally the same thing. If you're used to cutting audio, cutting video is not gonna be that much of a stretch. It's a learning curve, but it's not a huge learning curve for audio pros.
Thank you, Adam. If I may be so bold, I'd like to jump in. One thing I love doing is shooting, is collecting weird lenses, weird crystals, all sorts of stuff that lets light through them, and shooting through that, or holding it in front of the camera and kind of moving it around the camera, like just so the edges and stuff like that hit it. Another fun thing to do is if you ever come across a piece of like reflective card or reflective, like it was I found a plate. It was a plastic plate and it was made of metal, or a reflective plastic, and it was bendy because it was plastic. So what I do is I filmed the camera bouncing off that and moved everything around there, just to get some nice warping and stuff like that, because I like sampling. I like getting a microphone, going out into the big bad world, recording stuff, manipulating it with hardware. So I want to do that on with video and lighting as well. And that's another really fun thing to do as well, is like with lighting, shoot it off water, shoot it off this reflective thing, shoot it through crystals, do fun stuff like that. You know, really, really experiment. There is nothing to lose here. Aaron, Grim Life, hit me with your rhythm stick.
Hey, so couple things budget related. I think it bears repeating that just because something is used doesn't mean it's junk. I think a lot of people know that notion, but I think a lot of people are like, I got to get some tech. I got to do this. I got to make a big investment. Not so much. You might be able to find a used H4n audio recorder. You can put a sock on the top of it to help, you know, as a pop filter. You know, those in particular kind of help you kind of reassess the noise that's in your life if audio is a big part of your project, because you might not hear that the air conditioner is running or that there's a dog barking 8 doors down or but that's going to pick that up. But I'm getting away from the point. Like I said, used doesn't mean that it's junk. And I think you can find a lot of those if you're just willing to scour and, you know, search out everywhere that people are selling things. I had another point, and for the life of me, I can't remember it. You were talking about just doing stuff in camera effects. Crystals. Yeah. Oh, shit. Yes. Okay, for the love of God, I can't believe I forgot this shit. If you start to experiment more and more, if you look up the 25 shots, that's like a great groundwork for a lot of the shots that you see in cinema, but you may not have an active term for. And I'll say another thing, just as a quick aside, there's a lot of times where you start that you want an effect, but sometimes you have to rule out if that effect's going to be harmful to your shoot. So in short, there's a lot of people that are like, oh man, I want this really cool foggy effect for the room. But fog can create a lot of digital noise. It can clutter up your shot. It can be really harsh in the editing process. But there's some shit that I ran into a couple years ago called Haze in a can. And if you guys have never seen that, it's fucking incredible. So, excuse my French. But it's if you spray haze in a can, it will catch all of those light rays that are piercing through your window. it'll catch that golden glow. It'll catch all of the movies where they want to mimic the dusty room thing. If that's what you're shooting for, Haze in a can isn't terribly expensive, and it kicks serious ass, and it lingers a lot more than fog, and it doesn't set off your smoke alarms.
Bam. Thanks for the life tip there, Hack. Damage.
Hello. So I think I'm going to go into a very opposite direction. Like, we were talking about the physical effects, and I would like to focus a bit on the digital raw material. A lot of the times that I came across are tools that you can generate pretty easy to do, like generative algorithm-based stuff that you can use for smaller or shorter shots, or background layers or whatever. And I don't know if you guys use live coding, but based on the algorithm or live coding sessions, there are a bunch of different coding systems that can help you with generating really awesome real-time visuals on the fly, so that you could just sync it up with your audio, and then you have all your extra layers there. Like Processing does that. Touch Designer helps a lot. And there was one idea that I wanted to share. I'm not 100% sure that it works really well. A lot of times, when we're trying to think visually, I think we do go back to the favorite scenes that we'd sort of like to imitate in a way. That, I really like that thing. I would like to either take its speed or momentum or vibe of it. And there was this notion what if you just take the video shot and put it through a number of effects and record it with, I don't know, from a different angle with your smartphone. So it's got the noisiness, it's got that, I wouldn't want to say physicality of it, but it's got a very different vibe to it. And based on all these things, I'm not 100% sure that it's illegal to use. Because you can't really figure out what's going on the screen, but that could be something that you could use as another bunch of 10 seconds or 20 seconds.
Love it.
Yeah.
Eva, I'm gonna jump in after you. Michael, what you got?
Yeah, I was gonna say one of the good things too is going back to the idea of use isn't bad. I use a lot of vintage photo lenses for shooting, especially from the late 60s, early 70s, because they have lots of imperfections in them. A lot of them were still hand ground. So it was just before they had, so each lens has its own personality. And none of them are super sharp, so they give you that kind of little vintage feel to it. And because they're cheap, you can do things like modify them pretty easily. You can do things like scrape the coating off so you can get a little bit more lens flare. And things like that. So, I highly recommend those. And I had some other point, and I can't remember what I was going to say, because I'll just kind of turn it back over to you all.
Thanks, Michael. Eva.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk quickly about video tools for us PC heathens, because we tend to, everyone is a Mac in this industry except me. I've shot videos on the phone, on the webcam that's perched on my laptop. These days, Eric and I shoot on like a cinema camera rig, which obviously isn't super budget. Oh, nice. Eric too is also a PC. There's two of us. Yeah, I did a lyric video last year for one of my songs, A Softer World. And I actually did that one by having my friend who did the album art do a couple short loops for me. And then I stitched them all together in Adobe Premiere Rush, and used a product called Shoestring to put the lyrics on top of that. I could have done the background in Shoestring as well, but I wasn't getting the granularity I wanted. But yeah, I'm going to echo DaVinci as a beginner editor is not friendly software. Like the timeline of that, and it can be difficult, but for free video editors, it does not get more powerful than DaVinci. So if you're on PC or looking for a cheap editor, I would encourage you to brave the steep learning curve and it is very powerful.
Can I just jump in and ask a question for PC guys? Is there a simple video editor? I know, Carl. Is there a simple video editor like iMovie that somebody can jump in and just kind of start using, like the Audition version of DaVinci or something?
I would say Adobe Premiere Rush is the closest I have found. It is subscription. I think I tacked it on for like $5 a month because I needed Acrobat at the time for stuff. And that is like, it's pretty limited, but you have basic transitions, effects, you can stitch scenes together. So if that's all you're trying to do, if you want to do overlays or anything more complicated, you need to bump up a notch, but Premiere Rush will do the trick.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'm just going to jump in really quickly. Something I like doing is shooting something, then exporting it this big, like 100 pixels by 100 pixels, putting it on the screen, putting my phone straight into that thing and shooting it. I was inspired by Mike the Liar on this one because he shoots CRTV. I don't have a CRTV. That's the man. Don't have a CRTV, and connectivity with the CRTV is hard for me. So if I turn up the contrast of the monitor and turn up the brightness, when I shoot right in there with my phone, the pixels all distort and the brightness gets in there, distort, and it's the most wonderful thing. It's absolutely lovely. Try that. It's fun. I also wanted to briefly touch on, because stock footage and public domain image is, something else I want to throw into the mix here. I usually use public domain, and I've never had problems with it. But FYI, about a month ago, on a video that I used on, I think, the album Black Dog Bite, it was a sci-fi that was in the public domain. Somebody reported me to YouTube saying it was a copyright violation. And I got a strike. Like, I got a straight up strike. Like 3 of these and you're gone. And what was interesting is that there was no place for me to argue that I had the option of emailing, contacting the person who made this, brought up the complaint. And I said to the person, hey, FYI, it's public domain. Here, go on archives.org, read that it is public domain, because I got it from archives.org. And YouTube said, oh, you can't really contest this without going through the courts. And it was a bit of a, this is possibly going to open up a black hole of, but I love using public domain stuff, but now I'm going, oh God, am I allowed to do this anymore? I don't know. I'm going to throw it over to, I think Eric, I think I saw your hand at the top of the pile.
Yeah, it was probably a different subject at the time. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it's funny is I was actually going to comment on something that Eva was talking about, and then now you brought up this public domain stuff. We've had issues where we've had videos blocked that are fully our video that we filmed ourselves, and it's 100% ours, and they were blocked for reasons we don't even understand. And I've gone in months later, and videos have been gone without any message from YouTube.
Okay, were they blocked because of the video or because of the audio?
It was video. Well, I've had lots of ones blocked by audio. That's a different issue. But the video, just talking about the video here, it's like I did one, our song Slow Suicide. They blocked it at first and said, if you need help with suicide, you need to call this number, 1-800 blah 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 blah. and I'm like, well, okay, I still want to post the video. And then so like we had to go through, I'd posted it 3, 4, 5 times, and then finally got up there, and then it was taken down. Then it was saying that it was from someone like had a copyright issue, and I'm just like, it was one thing after another. It's like it was just like that video attracted like the wrong attention. But it's up there now, and no one's complained about it for a year. But yeah, we've had, just weird things where it doesn't even make sense, like, that YouTube can do and stuff. But the one thing I wanted to say earlier is that one of the most discounted things you got to take a look at is you have Instagram on your phone. You're lucky if you don't. But if you have Instagram, they have some killer filters. And some of the stuff that Carl was talking about, where you're kind of resampling and getting these grungy looks and these kind of degraded looks. People put out some of the most like horrible filters there are. They just look horrible. But if you use them right, there's thousands and thousands of filters you can get for free on Instagram that just give these like really bizarre effects and things, and you use them out of context from how they usually build them. And you can get just some bizarre effects that work really great in your videos.
Awesome. Thank you, Eric. Adam, wow, your hand's up. Wow, waiting your turn. I'm so proud of you, man. We've made a step today. And now you can talk. You're muted, and I swear to God, I didn't mute you this time.
Sorry. The DMCA stuff is a slippery slope, so I don't want to run down that. I do want to talk about stock footage and public domain kind of stuff, though, because I've been, as I said, that's how I got started on making my music videos so far. And if it weren't for those wonderful creators who are out there sharing the work that they've done, I wouldn't have my music videos on eMpTyVeeTV, and it's my own fucking channel. So stock footage, man. There are a lot of sites. I have a $40 a month subscription to Envato Elements now, because I was using so much free stock from their they have a free version site. I can't remember what it's called, but if you search free stock on Google, there's a tremendous amount of resources. And then, of course, taking any of that stuff is just a foundation. You can take any of that stuff, reprocess it, do all these tricks that y'all are saying, filter the heck out of it, grunge it up, layer it, green screen it, all of these kind of things. Like, almost everything that I make for eMpTyVeeTV, I'm making out of free stock. There's a lot of stuff that you can find out there, like, it's already cut out and everything, so it's on transparent layers. And that's how I made turtle race videos. It's just all free stock, backgrounds and a silly animation of a turtle. But that was what I was driving at. Again, the whole thing being the Shoestring budget is that there's a tremendous amount of stuff out there that is free. What I wanted to ask you, what was the site that you were just referring to for the public domain?
Archive.org.
Archive.org. So now, is that a place where you would find clips and stuff that you can use? Like you would
Absolutely
find
anything in the world that is, it will tell you if it's in the public archive, public domain. Mike probably knows more about this. By the way, Mark, I saw your hand before, so I've got an eye on you. I think.
Can we just interrupt Adam automatically? Isn't that okay?
Yeah, totally. I think it's called Karma, dude. Hat, and you've put up so much interruption, Karma. It's payback time.
It's how we do.
Yeah, I think it's archive.org, and that's where I get so much stuff. And now I'm not actually sure if it is a public domain. And Mike, if you want to throw in at this stage, let me know about specifically. Yeah. Specifically about this. Go.
Yeah, so archive.org is user submitted largely. A lot of it is like any sort of media that's in the public domain, but anyone can upload to archive, and they have to put the attributions, and obviously there's some abuse there. So there's definitely some stuff that shouldn't be on archive, but typically it's the anti-YouTube. It's harder to take things down from archive than it is to put things up. So, I see your finger.
No, keep going.
But yeah, so archive.org has specifically acquired several archives of old film reels. Like if you've seen like any sort of like weird black and white newsreel footage on the internet, it's come from archive.org. They have a massive operation where they're digitizing tapes and film reels, and they're working with universities to make all of their archives available all over the world.
Excellent. Now, Vince and Eric, I see your hands. I just want to stop on this for a moment because getting blocked, of course, if you have your video on eMpTyVeeTV, you don't get blocked because it's streamed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. eMpTyVeeTV, serving fucked up shit to your fucked up brain. So, Mike, therefore, is it a possibility that, because I know we were talking, Damage was talking about this earlier, like on an email with me and Brian, we were dressed up as nuns, spanking each other. Hi, Eric. Caffeine, is it therefore a possibility to be using archive.org as a place to store your videos as a band? Mike?
Oh, absolutely. Lots of people distribute through archive.org. I know sort of the art collective that I'm part of, the Basement Labs, we've distributed a lot of stuff through archive.org.
All right. Mark, I'm sorry I missed your question. I love you. Vince, I'm going to throw it to you now. Thank you, Mike. Vince? And you're muted.
Right. Yeah, I had to get the mute off. Okay. Archive.org, great thing. The YouTube and public domain thing is terrible. The music video I did that's on eMpTyVeeTV, Solace, I put that on YouTube, and it's made entirely of clips from Vincent Price's The Last Man on Earth, which is public domain. But somebody put a copyright claim on it because they also have clips from that movie on their channel. So they put a copyright claim on it, and because the clip was on their channel first, YouTube pays them every time my music video plays.
Okay. Yeah.
Also,
we are just
no,
going
wait,
to
sorry.
have a whole nother forum.
Yeah,
about
I know.
eMpTyVeeTV.
So back to you, Vince.
On the note of used is not always bad, the older the equipment is you can get for shooting video, a lot of the time, based on the type of art a lot of us here make, the older the equipment is, the better, because you end up having to do less digital things to get that fried look out of it when you use old equipment. I use old equipment for my music. I don't buy any. I buy almost nothing new.
Thank you. If you still have to go, please let me know. Then I want to interrupt you.
No, I'm good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Firstly, yes, this is a slippery slope going down the whole getting blocked, but at some stage I want to have this discussion because all of us get blocked. And if it's not audio, then it's video. So, and of course, unless you stream onto eMpTyVeeTV 24/7, you don't get that problem at all. eMpTyVeeTV, streamed real time. No algorithm can touch us. And I will just really quickly say, I want to have a talk about technique, or as the French say, technique quoi. Sets using what you have, the spaces you have and you're in, which is so a broken sentence in this broken time. Fuck you. Green screens and crowdsourcing. We're going to get to that, but I will very quickly say I had a mind-blowing conversation with somebody once. Only once. Every other time, you suck. But this one time, I had a conversation with somebody, and I was talking about how I collect analog synthesizers, and it's a problem. And this person was saying they collect Russian lenses from 1950 to 1960. Yes, exactly what you were saying before, Michael. And they were saying that same thing. As soon as you shoot through that, it looks like a Russian newsreel. And what you said, Michael, really made me go, oh yeah, they were done by hand. There you go. Okay, so let's talk about technique, or as the French say, technique quoi. I want to know about sets, how you made the sets, especially in lockdown. How you shot it, what you did with your space. And Eva, I saw your hand. Hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me slowly. Hit me quick. Hit me.
Well, I actually was jumping in on the used is not always bad from the perspective of someone who makes fairly high gloss shit. Like, I did my entire EP and a good chunk of my album on previously loved gear. My camera is previously loved, so frankly, like, even if you're not doing more retro sounding stuff, used gear is wonderful. And I guess I'll talk about sets. So for the most recent music video I actually finished and released, Black Blood, we basically got an opportunity to create a video for Spank the Nun. Actually, Eric was like, hey, you want to premiere a video? So Eric and I were sitting in a government mandated quarantine in my basement. Like, what do we have? We have an interesting wall over there. Eric has a bunch of digital overlays. We're going to throw that together into a video. So a large collection of overlays on the wall later, we had a performance video. So just creating with both practical and digital effects a space that had a little more interest, like doing something with the textures around you. If we hadn't had a magically textured wall, we could have done something similar with a backdrop or a green screen. I'm not a big green screener, but you can do quite a bit with even just like throw some curtains up to give you a little texture.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Now you're muted.
Speechless.
Shut up. Thank you. Grim, tell me what Hades does for this.
I think there is an absurd amount of stuff that you can find at Dollar Tree and Goodwill, which sounds like, yeah, no shit. But like just things that you don't think conventionally, and then all of a sudden you go, that could be a thing, you can get a lot of flowers on the cheap from Dollar Tree and shred them up and use the petals, and then you could slow those down as they free fall. You know what I mean? If you're editing savvy. I've taken freaking tablecloth coverings, like a vinyl tablecloth, let's have a birthday party thing, but taped it on the wall and taped it so smoothly that it didn't look like a freaking like a one-off like tablecloth, and with the lighting it really played on it. But what it became was it looked like black oil dripping down the wall, and it was in Bet Noir's lair because he's this creepy necromancer bastard. But the point remains, it's like Goodwill, Dollar Tree, all that. It's how you put it to use. And as a quick aside, I recently saw a video where they had completely ripped the guts out of VHS tapes and wrapped them around her hands to make long, like it looked like diva gloves. But then there's these trailing streamers of like it's like a whirlwind. It's like the shiny maelstrom that was trailing off the hands. And then if you play with the editing, you could reverse it and you can do all kind of just really badass effects. But yeah, cheap. It's just how you use it.
Thank you, Grim. I see your hand. Oh, Adam, tell me about your hat.
Unmute. There we go. It's not a cowboy hat. It's actually a fedora. And anyway.
That's excellent. Thanks. Okay, Mike, what do you got? Sorry. No, Adam, you keep going.
So on the subject of sets and locations, one of the things that Diana and I were talking about the other day was, Charming Disaster. They make these really adorable videos, and it's, like the kind of thing, like you live in an old house and they clear out the space in the living room, and it's a just cool space to be in. Carl, one of the most powerful videos is your All Puppet No Master. And this is another video that Diana and I have talked about in being super minimal in terms of having to find a location in a set and all this kind of stuff, where you essentially just moved the furniture out of the way and put the few elements into the space to make that minimal, beautiful setting, and relied on the color and the saturation and the lighting for it. And of course the narrative. But we see a lot of stuff, like local finds. There's an abandoned building somewhere within 50 miles of you. There's an interesting street somewhere. There's some woods or something that you could go run around in and find a cliff to throw a camera off of or something. I think in terms of building sets, some of us coming from theater backgrounds, when you start talking about building sets, we're going to break out muslin and paint and start building frames and staircases and shit like that. But it doesn't have to be anything like that. As far as I want to say this, actually, like, let me interrupt myself to say, as far as eMpTyVeeTV goes, we appreciate any efforts that artists are putting into their work, like having a cinematic production on a like commercial set Beyonce kind of level is not at all what we do. It's if you've got videos that are as amazing as Jamie's, great, but most of us are working on the cheap, and most of us are doing it independently. And so our mission is not to critique your work, but to inspire you to do the best work that you can with the tools that you have available. So even if you don't have a great deal of experience in working with video, or it's your first shot out and it's really just a collage or something of still images with your lyrics on it or whatever, like, we have videos like that on the channel. Like, we want you to be played and we want you to be heard. So just the process of putting your music to image, right, is getting you that one step further. The more creative that you can get with it, and the more that you can use the tools and all these things that we're discussing today, the better. It's going to enhance your creativity. It's good for your own mind as well, and it certainly helps to push the message of your music, the intent behind your music out to your audience better, and to bring that audience back to you more. The more compelling your visuals are, the more it's going to attract people into your music. But the most important thing is just to have you guys out there doing it at all, and taking any of this information today, getting out there with your cell phone and running around in the woods for a while, or finding an abandoned building and running around for a while, and putting your music on that and getting it to us. And I'm done interrupting myself.
Thank you. And I will actually also pick up on that, Adam. It's very important for us to get behind eMpTyVeeTV. It's very important that when we do a show or a presentation or anything else on Twitch or Facebook, we raid, using the raid function, back to eMpTyVeeTV. We take that audience and we send them to eMpTyVeeTV, and we give that back to the community. We every week put a mention in your social media. Hey, do you want 24-hour non-stop music from the dark side? Twitch.tv, eMpTyVeeTV. Every week we have to do this. We've got to push this channel, because we have a problem with digital noise in our community scene world internet environment, where piercing through that digital noise is so hard. You have to pay for it. You don't have to get paid to play on eMpTyVeeTV. You just send them something. If all of us work together to make this thing the thing that cuts through the noise, we will help each other. That's what we have to do. We are a tribe. We must help each other. I'm looking over here. I think, Eric, I think your hand's been up the longest. I don't know how to read this shit. Go.
Hands up. It's funny is that Jamie's not on here anymore, but we were talking a couple months ago about a live video shoot he did too, because it's not always about, just a video. But we do a lot of streaming. Carl does some really cool stuff with his live stream with Angelspit. And, we've had discussions like this too, where it's just like, what can we do? What can we do to kind of set the mood? And sometimes it's just adding a second camera or a third camera. And it could be that cheap $20 Polaroid, like what Adam put out there. But a lot of the South American bands that I've been working with the last 6 months, they just get that, they're just trying to get that second camera angle in there, and that makes them feel very professional in their video editing that they're putting together. And then I wanted to go back to the set thing. Is green screen is a great tool, and I don't think enough people use it. It's ironic because Carl's got a green screen behind him this whole entire thing, but the green screen can be used in so many different ways too. A lot of people, they'll look at it like, okay, I get it in Adobe Premiere and I know how to perfectly get that green screen out and get a perfect 4K representation of my video. But sometimes it's, what does it look like when I try to use it through OBS or through some Blackmagic, hardware, or some of the other stuff I've heard some folks talk about? It gets a little grungier and a little dingier and a little bit more edgy. But sometimes it's layering those things on top of each other that give you a really cool kind of effect. So it's just experimenting with a lot of that stuff. Sometimes it's getting it perfect where you can nail it and get that green screen out of there perfectly. Then it's dialing it back a little bit to just get some of that feeling back into it, like a sample.
Awesome. Thanks, Eric. I'll just really quickly jump in before I cut to you, Michael. Mike, the liar, Video Punk, if you want to see the cutting edge of what you can do, watch Mike's stuff, including just walking down a hall was so cool. Mike, I'm going to throw to you in a couple, but that hall was great. But what Mike does with Video Punks and Basement Labs is, there it is again, is groundbreaking. So check out those guys because they're nuts. Michael, not Mike, Video Punk, Michael, DJ TI99, hit me with your rhythm stick.
Well, I mean, I want to kind of emphasize again, a lot of stuff. First of all, I can't remember who it was that, I believe it was Mr. Reaper who was saying the dollar store stuff and thrift store. I'm going to be doing special effects supervising for a sci-fi short film, and that thrift stores and dollar stores have been wonderful for just about everything. You can make things just about out of anything. And I also want to talk about green screen because I do have green and blue in my hair, both of them. So working with a lot of bands that we do, that's something to be aware of as well. So
awesome. Thank you. Eva.
Mute buttons are hard. Anyway, I was listening to everyone talk. We're all talking about Sesame Creating Space, and I think one of the things I want to highlight is how much light, and you can create with just light and depth of a richer space. Like even taking a simple set and adding some colored lights. I have a photographer friend who used like folder dividers from Staples for many years to create her colored lights. Just gives you a little depth. And then for a live stream, you move within the space back and forth to the camera, some stuff up close, some further away, and even just some fairly simple stuff, but some interest in light and a strong performance really brings you a long way in elevating what can be even like a basically non-existent set.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mike, Video Punk, do it.
Hey, so I'm actively trying to break into my apartment right now, so I'll be super quick. I think constraints can actually drive the creative. And a really good example of this is there's a book by Robert Rodriguez called Rebel Without a Crew, where he detailed all of his pre-production, sort of his production process for El Mariachi, which was his first feature. And it really started out with, you just make a list of literally everything you have, and then you write to those constraints. So yeah, that could be really helpful for somebody, especially if they want to make a music video, but maybe they can't afford spending $50 this month at the dollar store. If you really just through an unbiased lens, look at everything that you have access to, you should have something that will spark an idea, and then you can carry that concept.
Brilliant. Thank you. Hack.
Hey, yeah, one of the big things here, and I think everybody's kind of dabbled around it, but I would say finding somebody who's a production designer is paramount. It's such a huge thing, especially when you're just trying to put a job title to a face to a thing. A production designer is shit. They are the ones that could be the catalyst to where it could be your best friend. It could be somebody that's a sounding board, but it could be, I have a theme. This is what I want to do. it's a Greek theme, or it's this is supernatural, or. But your production designer can be the one to go out there and start headhunting and pull your Dollar Tree stuff, or find your Goodwill stuff, or just even reach out to like 5 friends and be like, we need fans for this shoot. I just need to borrow your fan, instead of just, I got to buy it, I got to have it. You could have them be the one to kind of help echo that. And more often than not, you're going to find like 10 people that are like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I got these 5 things I don't use, And you're like, oh, okay, well, can we borrow them? And sometimes they're like, well, you could just have them. But the point being, your production designer is usually like a huge and really awesome anchoring point and a good tool to use if people haven't heard that jargon thrown around.
Awesome. Michael, I think you're on next.
Sorry. Yeah, I was going to do, I actually kind of accidentally left my hand up, but I want to add in, somebody before mentioned tutorials on YouTube, and there's some really good ones. Film Riot is particularly good. There's some, and 4-Minute Film School from Aperture and Indie Mogul. They do really, really good work. Indie Mogul's great because they'll show you how to make really dirt cheap props and get your set up really cheap. They have really good ideas. But I find, I'd say out of all those, 4-Minute Film School, where they have usually have a lot of DPs on there talking about lighting and things like that. And there's a while in the series where they were showing you how to achieve the same look with things like hardware lights and stuff like that they were getting with their expensive Aperture lights. So, yeah, I mean, so, again, it's, I just heard somebody mention that before, and I just wanted to kind of throw that in there.
Awesome, thank you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw it to Gabriel. Eva, I'm sorry. Then I'm going to throw it to, then possibly Mike. Adam, can you take over as MC and then you're the next person to speak? I have to deal with a cat issue. I'll be right back.
Gabrielle is fine. Mike and the others are making really great points. And I just want to highlight how important it can be to just bring your friends in, bring your fellow creatives in, connect with the people in your community who are also into doing different creative things. And for the last EVX video we shot, again unreleased, we needed a mad scientist character, and we called up one of Eric's and my friends and we're like, hey, we need to create this like crazy illicit lab set. And he's like, say no more. He shows up with like these shampoo bags that we were able to repurpose as IV bags, a bunch of his like tools, his old synths, and that. We created this incredible lab set in the guy's office with, again, some cool lights. And it just elevated that part of the video so much than trying to do it ourselves. And it lifted a ton of our material constraints because our friend Rich was just like, Mikasa is Yukasa. Let's create this whole set. I have these backgrounds from SETI that cycle through all this crazy cyberpunk pseudobabble. This will be great. So I really want to encourage just, hang out and make friends with your fellow artists.
Hey, I have something really important, really, really, really important to say about that.
Go ahead.
So leaning on your network, your creative network, and working with your friends is a very good thing. But in my fucking 15 years of production, I've learned some shit about it. No more, if people aren't getting paid, no more than a 10-hour day, if you can help it. Feed everyone, like full on stop work every 4 hours and make sure that they eat, because they're not professional. Like, professionals on film set, every 6 hours we stop for a meal, but make sure there are snacks, make sure there are bottles of water. When everyone shows up in the morning, make sure that there's coffee and food. As long as your crew is fed and they're not drinking liquor, they will be happy and they will follow you literally forever. But like, there's things you need to do. You need to meet them halfway. And that's like good food, having snacks, not expecting them to work a 16-hour day, And then even something like, there's sort of a threshold. It's like people will volunteer and they will love you and they will come hang out. But even if you can give people $50, they will end up feeling so much better about it. and they will, like, I think about this. I did a short with Adam in like 2006, and I didn't know these lessons, and it was a miserable experience, I'm sure, for everyone involved. I was very excited because I was making a short, but I'm sure literally everyone involved had a miserable time, and they still think about how much that sucked. And the end product was cool, but yeah, if you can feed your friends, feed your crew, and then really tell them up front, like, hey, we're walking out of this place at 10 p.m. like 9:55, we're done. People will stick around and they will work hard.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I actually used to model before I started Eva X and do burlesque. And the number of people who would be like, hey, can you do my music video? And we'll like party after. And it's just like, okay, but I'm a professional. You want me to show up and deliver like a performance and choreography, at least offer to cover my gas. So yes, and for the record, when we invaded Rich's house, we brought beer, we brought pizza, we definitely, and so yeah, very important to, yes, lean on your friends, but don't exploit them. They're doing you a huge favor. Treat appropriately.
Yeah, and well, and I'm gonna jump in there, Mike, just to assuage your conscience there. Like, I do not have a bad I remember it being hot and us laughing the whole goddamn time. Like, that's what I remember of it, and the outcome of it. I mean, I still tell you, I still want that finished version of that. Like, it's a beautiful piece, and it was such a cool thing to do, and it was helping a friend accomplish a project. And it didn't matter if it was hot and that, certain members of the cast were grumpy or hungover or, whatever. But but we all were. So so yes, the Friends Network is a huge thing. Like, everything that I've ever accomplished has been, it starts off as a wacky idea, and then I get as many of my friends involved in my stupid idea and down my rabbit hole of foolishness that I can, and we end up doing something cool, and we're all pretty satisfied with the result. It's not always easy, but that's part of the process. None of it's easy. Like, making music is fucking hard. Like, making videos is not going to be easy, right?
Yeah, I'm also sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, go for it.
I haven't cut you off terribly. I also wanted to add. I have
the karma to pay back.
Yes, here's your last of the karma. I also wanted to add, just because this happened as well when I used to model. If you are bringing people on, make sure that if you're bringing someone on to act or model in your video, they know what they're doing, and you're not springing like, hey, we want you to do this crazy body paint thing or whatever on the day of shoot. That didn't happen to me. I've seen that happen on a set, and it's not pretty for anyone involved. And
managing expectations.
Yeah, manage expectations, and especially if you're hiring, like, I want to hire someone local from the model or burlesque scene. Have a thought to, they're probably going to they may want to bring someone as an observer, and cover gas, and don't pay exclusively in booze, please.
Excellent.
That's just my short list of, please don't do this to us.
Thank you, Eva. I think, Michael, I see your hand.
Yeah. I was going to say, I put this in the chat, but 48-hour film project is a great way to learn local film, find out about local filmmakers. If you have that in your area, I highly recommend doing it. Not only is it really, really fun to write, shoot, and edit a film in 48 hours, but I didn't realize how many filmmakers there were in my area until I started doing that, started submitting projects. And it's a great way to network and do that. And I was just going to emphasize, the other thing to do is just make sure you feed your crew. Always. That's always feed your crew.
Yeah, excellent advice. Grim, take me to the dark side of hell.
I would say when it comes to just emboldening and trying to, let, echo in a lot of points there, when it comes to shooting and everything, it's if there's anything you learn in film school, it's to cheat your ass off. Okay, it doesn't matter how a particular prop looks or how the entirety of the set looks, you know, because it's very easy to get lost in all of those details, being like, oh, well, I got to make sure, you know, that backdrop's perfect, and then all the costume pieces are accurate, and this guy has a, you know, they have a special brooch that they wear on this. They may not even see the damn thing by the time everything gets done in editing. But also to that end, you could cheat your ass off when it comes to the way that things are, you know, like, what do I want to say? Like, if you want a flickering fluorescent light, but that's not visually appealing and it's not doing your camera any favors, you could cheat that off camera with someone just messing with the light blocker, you know, and messing with your actual good lights. So the point is cheat your ass off. And then also when it comes to props, just kind of think about, you know, if you are going on the cheap, just trying to explore, this kind of falls back into the production aspect, production designer or a props master, but you can find things to where instead of trying to find a one-off syringe, you might be like, well, what does that look like? And try to wrap your heads around it and get those prop masters and those production designers to look at your photo references. And they could say, oh, well, I don't have an IV, but I have a freaking thick gauge sewing needle, and I have a check valve, and I have freaking fish airline tubing that you get at Walmart or wherever. But the point being, you can craft something together, you know, if you got a few more people to kind of bounce it off of. But yeah, like I said, I think my zero sum here is just cheat your ass off, and then eventually you can focus in, and things that you think otherwise might look hideous will actually show out gloriously with the right editing.
Fake it. Excellent advice, man. Adam, what do you got?
Well, I wanted to talk about lighting on the cheap, but I see that there is a question coming in from Twitch there about recommendations on real-time video effects based on audio track processing, like using analog gear to affect video. And that sounds to me like it is right up the liar's avenue there.
The only man.
Like he was walking around and he heard something, analog gear to affect video. Here I am.
Mike,
It's
the
true.
floor is yours.
So I'm gonna give it to
All
him.
right. So I don't use any audio reactive gear at all. I do everything manually. I find that the timing is always better and you can be more selective. But I actually just had this conversation with an artist friend of mine who does like a lot of live PA techno stuff and with live video manipulation. There's a couple of people that do make audio reactive gear where you can feed a line level signal in and it will modulate the video synthesizer. BPMC, Big Popper Modified Circuitry. It's this guy, Drew Popper. He's in Portland. He's built all of my touring gear and all of my gear since 2012. He's great. He's really affordable. There's a couple of other people that make stuff. If you search like video synthesizer on Etsy, a bunch of stuff will come up. But yeah, you can like literally, like I know there's sort of two schools of thought. Like you can do line level audio in and just like crank it and it'll modulate your video. Or now there's a lot of analog modular video stuff where you can actually feed it CV. So you can be manipulating parameters in the video synthesizer with CV, which is like pretty incredible. But yeah, if you got a thing with a big old knob and you can tap your toe, like if you've got some rhythm, you can play your video synthesizer like an instrument. You can get much more compelling, what I think is much more compelling, much more interesting effects in real time than just sort of attaching it to audio parameters like that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and then there's also software-based solutions too. Like I know there's like Max for Live and all sorts of, like, I think you can do video stuff and processing. I don't really know much about the generative end. I think that's more Damage's bag, but yeah, there's definitely things you can do.
Damage, did you want to pick up and bounce on that one?
Maybe if I can unmute myself, that could be a thing. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not that familiar with the hardware side, but in terms of software, I know that basically all the people whose work I really adore, they do use processing and they do use Touch Designer. And in terms of processing, the really great thing about that whole framework is that it was basically created for visual artists who do not necessarily have the mindset of a coder or programmer. I know that people who do programming hate the word coding. They love to say that they're architects, and I pretty much understand the mindset. Sorry for rambling. So whenever it comes to you being a musician but not a coder or programmer, it's pretty easy to pick up on processing and create, just pull in all the either the real-time audio or just an MP3 or WAV file, and then generate something out of it. And the great thing about it is, I don't know which of us said the thing about tutorials. There's an awful lot amount of tutorials on YouTube as well, and the code that you can use to generate real-time visuals, that's pretty much up on GitHub and a lot of other sites, depositories as well. So it's pretty easy to find stuff there.
I'd also like to, just to clarify something. So when we're talking about processing, that's capital P processing. There is a software suite called processing. It's not just the lowercase p idea of processing.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because sometimes it's really hard to Google for processing related things. But yeah, definitely right. And like, if you want to just pick something and generate something with that, there's this piece of software called Magic Music Visuals, and however simple it sounds, it really can generate to a whole bunch of different things that you can iterate from later on. And I think it has a 2 weeks demo version for PC, so if you just want to mess around with stuff, it's a good practice.
Oh, also, sort of a low rent version of this is there's a lot of VJ software out there, and you can route your VJ software to something like OBS and use that to record the output. So if you have a MIDI controller and you're working in, I haven't used VJ software in a long time, but you know what I mean. So like RChaos or like, anything like that, you can be recording the output of whatever visualizer, hell, the Windows Media Player visualizer, and record that with OBS and get a really high quality recording at full raster. And then you can put that into your editing software.
Awesome. And if I could also jump in, OBS has the ability to be synced to MIDI. So you can send it MIDI note information that each note changes a scene. And I've successfully clocked it at 16ths at about 150 BPM. So it's real fast. And it doesn't actually chew into the processing as much as you would think it does. If we want to continue on this one, because I wanted to really quickly talk about crowdsourcing. If anybody else wants to talk about the processing, otherwise I'm going to throw it to Aaron, and then I'll take it up on crowdsourcing. No? Bueller. Aaron, it's yours.
Hey, one of the last things I want to say, because I know we've been kind of all over the place, I wouldn't underestimate the need to have somebody on set that can help you, whether or not you're even experienced directing, but get someone that can help you with eye contact to where they could actually hold up a visual tool for people to key into. Or they could be the person that helps you with your lighting effects. There's been a billion times where we're trying to rely on tech to shut a light out or make a loud noise, and it just doesn't work. But sometimes you need that person behind the camera to make a loud pop or a clap or get something to get a reaction from somebody, so that really sells the moment or keeps that good, like I said, keeps that good eye contact when you're supposed to be looking at a camera, because the camera is just incredibly impersonal at times. And you find yourself staring above a lens or to the side, and you're not getting what you want, or better yet, you're not getting what you want out of your actors. You can literally have a green ball and be like, it's right here. And everyone that's in the room can follow that, and that can help that drive. But I think that helps lean into the shoestring aspect, because, you could have all the bells and whistles, but when that shit starts falling apart, you might just need an average Joe to be like, look at the puppet. Puppet's over here now. to have some fun with it, you know, and kind of go with that aspect. Your background people can really help sell what you're driving for. So.
Cool.
Yeah, just to support that super quick, if you're in a position where you can hire crew, but you're limited, I would always say hire an experienced first AD. But if you can't afford a first assistant director with experience, hire a grip, because literally everyone who's ever worked on a film set as a grip wanted to be a director. And they'll know things about lighting gags. They'll know things about eye lines. They'll know all these tricks. So if you can find somebody who's like worked for a long time, but in either one of those positions, they'll be able to sort of holistically improve your ability to capture what you want.
Cool. Thanks. I just wanted to touch on something else and throw it open to questions, but we were talking, one thing that came up was crowdsourcing. Something I love doing is getting people involved in videos. As Justin will Julius will attribute, I'll put a call out on my Patreon and say, okay, I need you to do this and shoot it in this aspect and do these actions. And because pandemic or no pandemic, something I'm always dealing with is getting people to help me. So everything I do really has to be in such a way that I can do it myself. I'm the guy shooting it. I'm doing audio. I'm doing the whole lot. And most of what I do is just me. So when I want to pull other people in, it's usually them filming themselves on their camera. But it's always really fun because you're going to get somebody else's interpretation of an action or something crazy. Michael?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's really interesting. The Beastie Boys did that with a whole film. They made a whole concert film out of just tossing cameras out to people and letting them, collecting all the footage and coming back to it. And that's something to think about too. It's actually something I've really wanted to try is just, I've got a bunch of these cheap Canon camcorders and just give them out to people in the crowd and see who can shoot the best concert footage. And again, it goes back to having the B-roll too, that you can always fall back on because Lord knows nobody has enough B-roll.
Yeah.
So.
If I can, oh, you done?
Oh yeah.
All right, thank you. That's something that Mike did with me on the Ignorance Cartel videos. Is he sent me a camcorder, a old school 80s or 90s video recorder, and his instruction was to go out and shoot things that were 5 seconds long, and then he just put them together. And it's funny because it was the creepiest shit I've ever seen. Like there was a big scary analog drone going under the whole thing, but yeah, there it is. Yeah, there's a happy Bob. So you broke into your apartment. Yeah, and what, it was such a simple, fantastic thing of just recording these short grabs of stuff and slamming it all together. And it was really creepy and really effective. Because that's another really interesting thing about, music and images is that you've got to remember that the audience is coming to this with a suitcase full of stuff, full of hang-ups, full of baggage, full of all sorts of stuff. And if you present them with images, they are going to add meaning to those images and meaning to the music and meaning to the lyrics. They can't not do it unless you're Brian Eno. So take advantage of that. Like, show them things that will evoke that pre-existing thing. Remember, the scariest monster that exists in their head. Nothing you can do can come close to that. That's why we have the shadow of the vampire, and now I throw it to Mike the Video Punk.
So I'm really happy you brought that up because that's like context is the content. So we're taking ultimately we are taking all of this raw materials and we are recontextualizing it, whether it's things that we've shot or archive footage, and we are contextualizing it in a way and presenting it to an audience. So I think if you can think about it almost backwards, it'll make things considerably easier. Oh shit, I had like a really good point about this and I lost my train of thought. But it's just like sampling.
Yeah.
You know, it's like running around, like, you know, you kick a bucket, it makes a sound, and you are able to turn that into a bass drum. And the way that you turn that into a bass drum is you present it contextually in the track as a bass drum. So I think, yeah, you can lean on those things. I knew that regardless of what you shot, with the music bed presented in the way that it was going to be presented, it was going to be terrifying. But then you were, and we had that discussion. So you, with those intentions, went out, shot those clips, and your added intention with the raw materials and the way we contextualized it was able to create this image system that was really unsettling.
Yeah. And if I may, sorry, that something else really cool about that was the viewfinder on that camera, or it's because you sent me two. One of those cameras has a really bad viewfinder. I think it's actually both. You can't see the image, so I couldn't tell if we were zoomed in, zoomed out, or if it was in focus. I couldn't see, and all of that stuff added to this thing that happened. That image is only a source of images are only available on the VHS. It's not anywhere else. It's only on the VHS. You can do that, which is another really cool, creepy thing. But I just want to go back to that point of, you know, when lyrics are really obvious or the chord progression is really obvious, it takes away from the mystery, because we like our mystery. When you present something where you go, okay, there's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but something is going on. And something bad is going to happen. And that bad thing is probably going to happen when this video finishes, about 30 seconds, 2 seconds after this thing finishes, something bad has happened. And this video has started dropping me in a very unpleasant situation. I don't know what's going on. And when you do that, people are going to say, oh, baggage, I will, you know, because I've had people watch my stuff who are right-wing politically motivated, and they're going, yeah, man, absolutely, I get that all the time. Then I get other people who are left-wing politically motivated go, actually, Angelspit's extremely left-wing politically motivated, but it's interesting that you projected that onto it and you interpreted that thing not to get political. But that's something about this process that is so fascinatingly interesting, and I don't know whose hand's up next. Eva, I think it's you. Go.
No worries, I'll be quick. I just want to add, you know, talking about the shoestring budget, the cheapest monster to make is the one where you just cast a shadow up, and the easiest effect shot is the one where you just, like, rather than trying to do a wound and a bunch of fake blood, just show the blade descending and let the viewer fill in the gaps. And it's a really quick and easy way to save yourself a ton of budget and still make a really effective shot.
Yeah, just have them sharpening their knife and blow a kiss.
Exactly. Just, like, show it whirring, show it coming down, and there you go.
Aaron, what you got?
Yeah, in tandem with that, with the shoestring, it's said time and time again that your video or your movie is made in the editing room. Like, it's decided. You might have had a completely, you know, grandiose vision, but then all of a sudden the edit proves to work out a lot differently. But in that, I think, you know, there's plenty of stuff to latch on to if you wanted a prime focus, and if you wanted to build your storyboards and you want to have a good sense of context and groundwork. I think, you know, you could lean into the lyrics to help drive the visuals. I mean, I think that goes without saying, but then you could also tap into the undertone. So your video might not match the lyrics verbatim, but it matches that tonality and that feel that you were describing. Like, your track in Creeper is immensely fucking terrifying to me, because it's just that, like you said, it's that feeling of dread. It's that impending doom. But I would say if there were lyrics to that video, you could paint a picture with it. But it also seems like a lot more fun just to rhythmically tap into different tones and use that to drive the pacing of the footage. You could speed it up. You could slow it down. You could do a lot with that. I feel like I'm rambling, but I guess it'd be two trains of thought, you know, to help you organize if you're trying to consolidate and express your vision to another person. You know what I mean? Because they don't have your little click slider viewfinder. You know, they can't tab picture to picture, but you could say, this is the feel of it. This is the overwhelming feeling of dread, or this is all the happiness in the world, you know, and maybe they can match it to your tonality or they can match it to your lyrics.
I see your hand. I'll throw it to you in just a second. Adam, thank you very much, Grim. It's really interesting. Something I learned from Mike, a lot of things I've learned from Mike, but one thing was, but you're a cunt, Mike. Don't get me wrong. Something I learned from Mike was the emotional impact. There's a difference between a cut and a fade. And that cut and fade is, it's a remarkable thing. And you don't just need to fade to black. You can fade to red or fade up from white or all sorts of things. But yeah, that's something that, you know, in the All Puppet No Master, which is now being played on eMpTyVeeTV 24/7. If you want it dark, eMpTyVeeTV, overly on Twitch. I used a lot of fades. And not only did I use fades, but I jerry-rigged a lamp with a really bad cutoff so that when you moved, you could move in and out of the shadow of that lamp. That was another way of fading. And I will say, Eric, right now, you're out of focus and it looks fantastic. I'm going to shut up. Adam, I see your hand.
I was just mostly wondering if everybody is feeling as inspired and educated right now as I am, because I am totally rethinking the way that I'm going to be approaching my in real life shooting music videos from the stuff that you guys have been saying. Like hearing this stuff today, like I know how much it's helping me, so I really hope it's helping everybody else that that has been struggling with doing this. You know, the people that, you know, the reason that we're doing this today is because people responded to us in the groups online, in the artist and musician groups that we're part of online, talking about eMpTyVeeTV, saying, like, we don't even know how to begin, right? Like, we can't afford to make music videos. We're having a hard enough time affording to make our music, you know, and we all go through this. Like, I think most of us in the dark scene anyway, we're a bunch of starving artists. We really are. Very, very few of us are fortunate enough, very few of us are fortunate enough to even really make enough of a living doing our music alone to survive, much less to, you know, invest in more and more creation. It takes a really long time to get to that level. And so what I'm feeling today is that I am going to go out, you know, and make some of the most amazing music videos after hearing what you guys said. I'm totally rethinking the ways that I'm going to approach this, and my mind is just filled with creative possibility now. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this. I do see that we are getting awfully close to 2 o'clock, and I know we've got Space Couch coming on in a little while here and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not trying to overstep Carl's moderation here or anything, but I am wondering if anybody else has any ideas for this shoestring budget creation that we haven't touched on yet while we still have a few minutes.
Yeah, what I want to do, I want you guys to think about that, because that's important. There's going to be another one of these, just letting you guys know, because like Adam said, this scene would be nowhere without Diana. Marzi, I think you're top of the pile. Damage, go.
Unmuting. Okay, so 3 things that I wanted to say, which has stuff to do with what Adam said about a lot of people coming up and saying, okay, so how do I begin? And one of the things that I do believe is a good idea to go out to your local film school / university and then consult the people there. And I do know that every once in a while, regularly, there are some showcases at specific university departments, and you know that could be a good way to just go out and find a person for you who can help you with videography or creating your music video. That would be one thing. The second thing that might help is AMVs. anime music videos, which might be a bit cheesy to start out with, but once you want to start out and you have one music video out there which does feature your music, that could help a lot, just by feeling better as it is. And the third of all, there are a couple of guys out there on YouTube who do create industrial/dark musical genre related videos, like their Sound Mirror 66, and he just picks the tracks that he likes and creates a wonderful collage for those. So if you just approach him and say, okay, so is this the kind of track that you would like to work with, there's a chance that he might say yes. So these are the things that I wanted to just add to the whole conversation.
Thanks, mate. You're the best. Grim, go.
This will be quick, I promise. Carl and I briefly talked about Foley the other day. And if you don't know what Foley or Foley is, it's just when you're like, I need a sound and I'm going to fucking make it. Because you could bleed your eyeballs and your brains out trying to scour endless web content, trying to find that perfect ideal sound effect, or you can make it. So that stems to shoestring budget. And one of my favorite things I ever did was got a metric shit ton of cheap glass from Dollar Tree and duct taped the shoebox and slammed it on the ground, and the glorious and hideous sounds of shattering glass that you can make. So if you need something like that in your video to start it, to end it, whatever, I wouldn't underestimate the ability that you have to make sounds in real time if you got good recording, like an H4n or a good sound recorder, or hell, maybe even your phone will grab it. But Foley, that's a huge thing with shoestring instead of, like I said, scouring for hours and hours. So.
Thank you, mate. That's great. Eva, go.
One, I'm going to go learn so much that I had no idea about eye tracking and camera angles. I guess my advice for the shoestring budget is just get started. You're not obligated to post your first attempt if it doesn't go so well, but, get your phone camera out, get used to filming yourself, tracking movements. The more you can get comfortable with and practice in front of camera, the easier it's going to be. And just get started, get filming, and embrace the whole learning process.
Awesome. Absolutely. I'm going to give the closing word to the fucking motherfucker of motherfuckers. Mike, what you got?
I think people underestimate the power of fucking shipping your shit. I think if it's your first attempt and it's not turning out the way you want it to, you should still fucking finish it and put it in front of people. I think it's really easy to get discouraged if something's not turning out the way you want it. But people don't know what's in your head. People know what they see.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. And then also, I am 100% available for music videos if you want to do like an analog thing. Just putting it out there.
Very happy customer right here. Go on. I'm sorry.
But yeah, don't get discouraged. Don't get too much in your head. Just do the thing, finish the thing, get it out there, and then keep doing that. And your 25th attempt, I've made some interesting music videos, but I haven't truly made a music video yet that I'm 100% happy with. And I've been doing this for 20 years. So yeah, just do it. Just fucking rock out, make sure that shit is fucking done, and get it out there so you can start working on the next one.
Absolutely. Julius, what you got?
I absolutely agree. Get this thing done and throw it out and try to get some feedback. And I think that's why it's so utterly important to have this tribe and meet up here to encourage each other, because that's what it does to me. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. That's what we're going to do. We're going to leave it there. I'm going to make some public announcements right now because I like to make some public announcements. Firstly, this time, 9 a.m. LA time every Sunday. Hey, wow. Alex, why weren't you in the conversation? We do this and we meet up and we talk about music and we talk about, as an artist, making it happen. Every Sunday, 9 a.m. That's what we do. And that's brought to you by right here on Angelspit's Twitch. This madness happened because of the remarkable help from Angelspit's Patreon people. They are there. That's the site. Jump on that, because a lot of what we provide is free. And if it's not, it will be eventually. So, this is all about the tribe. I want to send another big congratulations to the one, the only Planet Damage, whose 8-track EP drops tomorrow, and that's a remix thing. And they're going to be on Space Couch in 1 hour. So if you're on Twitch now, jump on Space Couch, and Brian and you guys, I'm looking forward to it, because you kill me. And I had something else really important to say, and I don't remember what it was. And we're going to do this again. Oh, I know what to say. We're going to do this again. Because there's so much in here. If you like your music hard and dark and 24 hours a day and 7 days a week, eMpTyVeeTV. As I said before, this is mission critical to our tribe. This is going to be so important for getting bands out there. I've been watching it, and I've discovered so many bands that I've never seen. And if you're in a band, what I want you to do is I want you to post it on your social media every week. And then I want you to raid over to eMpTyVeeTV once you're done, which we're going to do in a few moments, because you guys are amazing. So we've got to support this thing and keep it going. I probably forgot. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of this. You guys are like space gods that we'll still write about in 2,000 years, and we'll probably form a religion around it. I know I will. Thank you again. And Adam's hand is up, and Adam's going to take us out. Go, Adam.
I just want to say thank you guys so fucking much for doing this with us today. And all of you people out there that are getting something out of this today, I want to repeat what the liar just said a minute ago. Finish the thing and send it to us at eMpTyVeeTV, because we want to get you on. We want to get you on. That's why we're doing this here today, is to get you guys to make something and get it to us so we can get it on the channel. And we love you. Thank you. We love you.
Bye. Bye. You guys the best. Bye. Bye. See you next week, 9 a.m. LA time, Angelspit's damn Twitch. Bye. Bye.